People who recently sold to capitalize on price appreciation. I know a large number of people who have sold their homes in the last 4 years. They saw prices going up and wanted to capitalize on the equity in their home. A few have been renting waiting for a price drop. One sold in 2019 and has been renting since then. A few rented and then decided to start building a new construction home as they saw prices increase. A few retired and moved into their vacation home. I feel like I know a disproportionate number of people who have sold for the appreciation. Has anyone else done that? In retrospect, do you feel it was the wrong decision? One of my buddies sold about 4 or 5 years ago thinking the prices were inflated. Rented a house across the street. My bet is that he can't afford to rebuy his house now and his rent probably went up by at least 50. Question rephrased: is it smart to time the market? Selling your primary just to rent and wait for a price drop. In hindsight, not the smartest idea. If they have been renting since 2019. Depending on how much their rent is, I was renting to a tenant for $2,300 in 2019-2020. They probably out almost $100K. I'm thinking about selling a rental because equity has increased much faster than rent. Which means return on equity sucks now. Could make more by selling and investing in treasuries with current interest rates. Sold our house that we lived in for 10 years and just had our cash offer accepted on a house in a lower call area. No regrets because now we'll be mortgage free. Bought in 2016 for $210K. Put $50K into the house over 6 years. Sold in May 2022 for $510K. I signed a contract to build in March of 2021 before lumber and everything really exploded. I roped all $272,000 I made in profit from my home sale and rolled it into my new build. Build finished December of 2022. 30-year at 4.625. I owe $550K on my new home build. It appraised for $1.1 million. I'm 37 and this new home is a part of my retirement plan. I did plan to capitalize on the market, and I know people say you can't time the market. I tried to time the market and just got super lucky. Sold in September of last year in Brooklyn, NY. Did very well. Bought in SoCal in February of this year. Already seeing gains since closing. Sold at the peak or renting. No regrets. Texas property taxes alone were nearly double our current rent. Yeah. The live free, no income tax crowd always seem to gloss over that detail. Add maintenance, insurance and the rest were ahead even with the markets bouncing around. I sold some rentals homes I had, was a good net for prices to it does, but it's all a gamble. We relocated and rented old home. We weren't sure if we want to move back, and when it became clear we didn't, we sold. I saw signs of market shifting. I quickly put home on the market. I was right. But others told me I was wrong to not turn into permanent rental and or at least a house to own somewhere. I have no desire to be a landlord again and love that we simplified our lives and finances. We might have been slightly more inclined on keeping it if price didn't appreciate as much. But figured we would cash out. My family did this in 2020. Sold in WA. Moved to AS for a lower cost of living and capitalize on the appreciation. Such a good idea, a bunch of other people did it too. Now AS is about as unaffordable congested as WA. So we're heavily considering doing it again. Sell in AS AMD move to? We have a few areas on a short list. For us, not a lot of family to be super attached to. So we're chasing the dream of work to live, not live to work. Using the housing market to make us the best return in investment. We looked at doing that because we have more house than we need, but we would have ended up with a bigger mortgage and a smaller house because we got in when houses were reasonable and rates were at their lowest. We bought the lot behind us 3 years ago. It was the last lot in a nice neighborhood and we just turned it into more backyard. It also kept someone from building on top of us. Not long ago a developer offered us about twice what we paid, so we sold it. We used the money to pay off some loans and now we are in a pretty good spot. Since the earliest days of asset ownership, people have attempted to time the market. Some have succeeded. Most have failed. I sold Jan this year, but it was a rental property I had. No regrets. Lived there for last 2 years of 5 so $250K in non-taxed gains. I basically captured years of rent by selling and don't regret it whatsoever. I put most of the gains in money markets and they've been crushing what I would have made from rent. $1,500 net mo. I'm about to have been all over the country in last 2 years scouting out our next move. We have it narrowed down to a few places with one last trip coming up in October to give us as many options as possible. Ideally, we will be selling in Florida and buying a smaller place in the Midwest with a lower call. It helps that we are both over the heat, the crowds and the politics in FLYMMV. I sold one off and am under contract on a second. Profit taking. I am not selling my primary residence though. I can't find a better replacement place right now anyway. We didn't do it, but relatives did. They ended up renting for a bit and then buying smaller house for the same price that they sold their much larger home for. It made no sense, but I guess it's what they wanted. We sold in late 2022 and closed on a new home August 9, 2023. We definitely upsized as we were outgrowing our old house. We made a nice profit of the old house and we were able to put 20 down on the new house and pay off some of our debt, which put us in a great position for a loan with 5.25 interest. If you sold and didn't buy again the last 3 years, you've lost thousands in equity you could have built up. Prices have not dropped and won't. We have super low inventory and will for years. I feel it's a mistake to sell and wait for the market to collapse. That only happened once in my life and there was a very specific reason for it. They fixed that glitch. Historically, home prices continue to increase. Have a friend who sold in 2020 in California to capitalize on the appreciation. Rented and figured prices were going to drop afterwards. Still renting. Oh, it can absolutely be done, and anyone saying it can't is just dead wrong. The key is you need to move to a lower call. I live in a VHCOL area and many of my neighbors sold their houses for massive profit in recent years and then moved to a MCOL and retired. Not sure exact numbers, but most sold around 2-3M and bought in the MCOL areas for 501M. So yay. Anyone saying it can't be done is silly. Closed last month. In this current market, renting is cheaper and saves you so much stress. Not only is cost of living high, but maintaining a house everything breaks eventually can be expensive. The amount I'm able to save and not be liable for, I am hoping covers the difference of house price when if we want to buy again. Well, the trick is to take the cash over to Wall Street bets and YOLO it on a sure thing. Then head over to Wendy's and start rebuilding that nest egg. I sold with a fairly large profit to upgrade my house to something bigger and closer to work. I'm under contract to sell a short-term rental I bought in 2018 for $63K for $185K. Was a good investment over the years. Profited about $10K a year. But increased STR competition has me less interested in the space. It was nice having a $200 mortgage though.